Welcome back, dear viewers. So, today we are at episode 13 of my story. So, hi, I'm a battered wife, and this is my story. To give you context, dear viewer, I have been telling you about my background. Last week, I told you about how dad completed his government assignment and decided to do a dairy and poultry business next. I described the house and its surroundings. Today, I will tell you more about life at Dapchari. So, I will narrate some of my memories from living at Dapchari. But, like I had mentioned earlier in a different video, these events might have happened over an extended period of time since we lived at Dapchari for a long time. Full time initially, and later we would go there for like weekends, vacations, and whenever we could. So I may not be narrating the events at Dapchari sequentially, but these are my memories of that place. So basically, all our neighbors were supposedly poor, underprivileged farmers who were the beneficiaries of a government scheme wherein they received land and a house on lease via a government loan that they were not really expected to pay back. So that was like, it was a given that that loan was going to be excused afterwards. So we did not really belong with these people. And so we stood out like sore thumbs. To begin with, dad being a practicing Sikh, a Sardar, he had his beard, pagdi, the works. We girls had untrimmed hair, and so we had super long braids. And plus, mom homestitched our clothes, so our dressing was also different. So we looked unlike anyone else around. Mom also wore the traditional home-stitched Punjabi salwar kameez that was typically worn by the villagers in Punjab. So she also stood out anywhere except in a rural Punjab setting. People could just see her and, notice that she is not like a typical person of that area. So neither were we Maharashtrians nor Hindus. So the neighbors around Dapchari did not consider us one of them. So it was not like growing up with kids of a similar socio-economic background. They looked at us as though we were entitled, privileged kids. Whereas, in fact, mom brought us up super frugally. Thanks to mom's own upbringing on a super strict budget, she imbibed that in her life with us. Like her dad had also told her, don't ask your husband for money, like manage with whatever he gives you. Don't come across as someone who's like greedy for money and those kind of things. So that's how she lived. So I'll just give you an example. So for instance, that everyone is familiar with Parle G biscuits, the common biscuits that are everywhere. So when we were growing up, it was probably just called glucose biscuit or Parle biscuit or something like that. So mom would have a packet of that kept in the kitchen or pantry, whatever you choose to call it. And that was given to us like a treat once in a while. So if you were given an evening snack of maybe ground nuts or something, and then there would be one Parle G biscuit with that. So that was our treat. And I was a kid who only loved sweet things. Like I could eat sweet things and I did not like savory. I did not like anything that was not sweet. So to me, eating anything else was like a punishment. So when we were given the evening snack or something, I would look at that biscuit as that final good thing I would get, and everything else I would eat like, okay, I have to eat this. And then when I came to that one biscuit, I would be so happy. That was the significance of even a simple single Parle G biscuit in our lives growing up. So the others were supposed to be poor, but just to give you context, to put it in perspective. For instance, at one point when we lived in Dapchari, sometimes dad would be elsewhere overnight. He would go somewhere else overnight and it would be just mom and us kids. So once in a while, she would invite a neighbor kid just to spend the night like a girl. So somehow she would feel more secure and safer. I don't know how that helped. And also, we would sleep sometimes in that open veranda, which looking back now, it seems very unsafe. But all of us females would just lay out our mattresses and sleep in that open veranda that was in front of the house. So once mom had invited one neighboring girl who was a teenager. We were little, she was a teenager, and mom had invited her to just sleep with us, spend the night with us. And this girl came over, and then in the morning when we woke up, mom first found out that the entire packet of Parle-G biscuits had gone missing, and then she found the cover thrown somewhere in the veranda. What a nightmare for my OCD mother. She couldn't have a single thing thrown elsewhere, anything out of place. So mom was first of all horrified to find out that this girl had eaten up a week's supply of biscuits. And she had just walked away. She did not inform us she was going back to her house. So mom was wondering why this girl would wake up and not even tell us anything and just go away. And mom would soon find out why the girl did that. Apparently, she had peed on mom's pristine cotton stuffed mattress. Oh my god. Mom had brought us up in a way that we were potty trained and pee trained by the time we were 1 year old, which I also did with my kids later. So we had stopped, dirtying the mattress or whatever by the time we were 1 year old. And here was this full grown teenage girl, huge girl, and she had wet the mattress with her pee, then eaten up a week's supply of biscuits, and then just walked away. Mom was so horrified. Poor mom. So this is how I'm showing you the context of how we lived so frugally and our neighbors were so chill and laid back. Mom could not conceive of living in a sloppy manner. She'd had her super strict upbringing, and she was very disciplined and hardworking, very neat and clean to the extent of OCD, like I said. She's what we would call a neat freak. So we and our place were nothing like our laid back neighbors. Okay, so now coming to dad. Dad had started his business after we moved to this unit. He had gotten into a partnership with a guy whom we knew only as Nair. They were into some construction business or something together. And that was different from the poultry and milk business that we were doing at Dapchari. So we had hens and roosters and lots of cows. And mom would wake up very early, 4 a.m. to start milking the cows. And there would be these Adivasis coming and looking for work, the local tribals of that area. And we used to hire some of them from time to time to work in the fields. There was one guy whom we only called Dada, I know him as Dada. Dada means brother in Marathi. So we had hired Dada as a full-time laborer, full-time employee who lived with us. And sometimes his wife would also join us, sometimes his kids would also come over. So Dada was the guy who lived with us on the farm. And I remember that as little children, we were so tickled to find out that Dada's wife was a smoker. She would smoke bidis and Dada would not. So for us, we grew up in such a typical, what is a man's role, what is a woman's role. We found it so funny. We used to laugh about that. So on our farm, Dada and his family were given a patch of land to cultivate their own food. So Dada and his family would grow their rice on this patch of land. And I remember watching his daughter stomp the rice there was a cow's feeding trough. It was all made of, I think, cement or stone, I'm not sure. So she would put all that rice husks into the feeding trough of the cow, and then she would stand in the feeding trough and stomp on those rice grains. And I would be so fascinated to watch what she was doing, but more fascinated to see that the rice was red. And I would keep telling mom, we would all cook in the same kitchen. Like I had mentioned, the unit had just a single room and a courtyard, a front courtyard. So we had added an extension, which was the kitchen, and Dada and his family also cooked in the same kitchen in one corner, and we cooked in the other corner of the kitchen, and we would all also eat in the same kitchen. So I remember looking at the red rice with such envy and fascination and being like, I want to eat that red rice. I don't like white rice, I like red rice. And once in a while, Dada would feel like maybe sorry for me and he would just give me a taste of the red rice. So just a couple of times I got like a handful of the red rice, that's it. But I was so taken by the idea of red rice. My eyes would be like on their food when we ate. So one more structure that we had made in this house was the toilet. So the house did not come with a toilet. So if you look at how it was laid out, we had our house, then there was an open courtyard, then there was the cow shed with that feeding trough area and the water area where the cows drank water. And then behind that we had made the toilet. So I remember my sister Ruby was so naughty. There were high windows, little like maybe 2 inch by 2 inch little window slits high up in the toilet for ventilation. So I remember when I would go to use the toilet, Ruby would just throw twigs in it and giggle. So we used to have fun times, Ruby and I, in that house. And I remember one time what we were doing was we were eating tamarind seeds. So we would eat the tamarind fruit itself, and then the dry hard seeds, we could just chew on them for hours. They are very tough. And then slowly they start, kind of dissolving, and then you enjoy having the seed. So I remember one time Ruby got tired of chewing the tamarind seed, and I'm just thinking of what hygiene we followed, or living on a farm. She got tired of chewing it and she just threw her tamarind seed into a drum. There was just a drum lying over there. And I told her, oh no, why did you throw it? I would have eaten it. Okay, so it is her chewed seed which she could not chew any further. Like she couldn't even get to the white part. The brown outer part itself was so tough. And then I just reached my hand to pick up the seed because I wanted to have it. And I did not notice that from that few moments where she had thrown it, there were these deadly huge red ants that had already gotten to the seed. So in Marathi they are called dingla. So I put my hand around the seed, and then the dingla, that big red ant, gripped my finger from both sides with its tentacles or whatever they are called. And then I'm screaming in pain, and Ruby's trying to pull that ant away from me, and I think it broke, so the tentacles were still in my finger. So that was a funny / horrifying memory that I have from living over there. Ruby was also very creative. She loved to be funny, like she would sneak up on me and give me the scares. I was always a little scared by this thing that any time she would creep up and scare me, the jump scare. But then also it was fun. Like I was scared and it was fun, something like horror movies. So one another thing that Ruby would do on my birthdays, what she would do is we had all of these flowers in our garden. So she would pluck lots and lots of flowers on my birthday. The marigolds, I think they are called. And then she would make earrings for me out of those. She would make necklaces, anklets, bangles. So on my birthday every year, I used to get a new dress that probably mom had stitched. And then she would decorate me for the evening party. So all the neighboring kids would be invited, and we would put up balloons. Sometimes those balloons had prints on them, which was a novelty for that place. Those people did not live like that, right? So they were very amazed they would be very awed by the birthday party that I would have. So I would be so happy to be decorated in flowers, fresh flowers from our garden from head to toe. And also the balloons. So I remember one birthday, one girl very timidly at the end of the party, she asked me, can I take one balloon? And I was like, yes, okay. And then she took it so happily. So that is something that Ruby used to do. She used to decorate me in a very creative way. One more thing I remember of how Ruby was creative. So we used to have this talcum powder. In those days, in the 70s, there was this big synthol talcum powder box that we used to get. You know, it had holes on top and you could sprinkle the powder from there. And we didn't have a cream, we just had that powder. So after bath, we would like just put some powder on our face just because that's what you're supposed to do, I guess. So one day Ruby got an idea and she said, we'll put cream on our faces. How? So she put some water in the talcum powder and mixed it. And that's what we applied on our face as cream. So for a few days, that's what we did. Like after our bath, we would be like, oh, we are applying cream on our face. And we would mix water and talcum powder and apply that on our face. So those were fun times. We had some fun times over there on the Dapchari farm. And then something happened. Mom had an unplanned pregnancy over there when we lived on the farm. I was 3.5 years old, I guess. I was definitely, yes, 3.5, below 4, 3.5 years old when mom conceived again. Now, this was an unplanned pregnancy, and I will tell you more about this in the next episode. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, dear listeners. I'll say goodbye now. Please subscribe to my channel if you have not yet subscribed. Please click the like button if you like my story. Please share this video with someone if you think that it might be helpful to them or just entertaining to them. So please do share my video with others. So this is the story of my life, every word true. Goodbye, dear listeners. Till next time. Bye-bye.